Hey everybody, it's Tom Woods, late night November 12th, 2011, following the CBS Republican presidential debate on foreign policy. Now, as many of you know, in the first hour of that debate, which was the portion that was televised, Ron Paul got a minute and a half. This has become a pattern in the debates. He's getting far less speaking time than his position in the polls would appear to justify. Now, how are we going to deal with that? Now, we can keep whining and complaining about it, even though we are quite justified in complaining about it, I concede, but it doesn't seem to be getting us much other than contempt. What else can be done? Well, some people have said Dr. Paul ought to just storm off the stage and just say, you know, look, when you want to have a serious discussion where alternative voices are actually heard and not just a bunch of rehearsed talking points, you let me know. But in the meantime, I'm going to go do something more productive. Well, that would be the headline the next day, I suppose. That's true. May not be his style. Others have said he should simply demand his time. He should intervene and say, now look, I have been more than reasonable, debate after debate. I stood here when for 5 minutes, at a time when we're going through a worldwide crisis with sovereign debt exploding all over the world, I sat here for 5 solid minutes listening to Rick Perry and Mitt Romney argue about who's mowing Romney's lawn. I have been more than reasonable up to this point. But it is absurd how I'm being treated and how my supporters are being treated, and I demand to be heard in this debate, and I will be heard. Well, that alone, I think, you would start to see the fundraising numbers go way up as the base, the Ron Paul base, gets re-energized, and they say, all right, our man is now out there fighting, swinging, he's serious, he's going to fight for himself, he's going to stand up for himself. It shows he's assertive, he's a leader. These are just the qualities that we know he's got, and now he's put them on display for the whole country. But again, people will say, but maybe that's not his style. And that may be. And if he can't bring himself to do something like that, well, we have to respect that. That's who he is. And I in no way say I'm a better man than Ron Paul. I'm not 1/1000th of the man he is. I haven't done 1/100000th what he's done for the cause of freedom. And I have no confidence that I would have 1/10 the integrity and consistency that he's shown over the course of his political career spanning decades were I to enter that den of vipers. We have different styles. Everybody's got a different style. But so my suggestion is if it's not Ron Paul's style to just stand up there and say, look, I paid for this microphone, that sort of thing, a Ronald Reagan sort of moment, then there are other things that can be done. And what should have been done in advance of this debate tonight is this. The campaign ought to have set up, have to have purchased a domain name. And it could be some catchy domain name, could be anything, you know, Veterans for Sanity, whatever. Some domain name that when you type it in, it redirects to a page on the ronpaul2012.com site. And that page would be a series of testimonials regarding Ron Paul's foreign policy from veterans who, with this particular crowd, are going to have a particular credibility. And you have a series of conservative foreign policy experts who can explain Ron Paul's foreign policy in a way that can resonate with Republican primary voters. And if we're going to change this foreign policy, we are going to have to change some of those minds, and that can be done. Forget about pretending that we can just get by without talking about foreign policy or hoping it goes away or doing ads about different subjects. That's not working. And I know a lot of people that I've come across in my travels around the country who are this close to being for Ron Paul. This close. They just can't get over that foreign policy hurdle. There should be a whole page on the site with all this information on there. Brief videos that can do an awful lot. These foreign policy claims that Ron Paul is making can be worded in ways that appeal to this audience. You read the foreign policy chapter in Dr. Paul's book, The Revolution of Manifesto. That's written in a way to appeal to these people, and it has worked. I know of people who have had their minds changed by some of these arguments. We've got to be making these arguments. So Ron Paul then goes out tonight, and when he sees, as time goes on, that he's not going to get any time, the next time he speaks, he says, you know what? I know they're not going to give me the time that my poll numbers deserve. I know that. So you know what? I've set up a site so that if you want to hear an alternative voice, which you're certainly not getting on this stage, if you want to hear something other than let's keep bankrupting ourselves by perpetuating the same fiasco of a foreign policy, if you'd like to hear an alternative to that, head over to my site, blah, blah, blah. Simple, easy, catchy domain name that they type in, and it redirects them to the Ron Paul 2012 site. That's what needs to be done. Because if we continue the way things are going, and we let the media keep doing this to us, I don't see how the poll numbers start to grow. It's got to be some bold maneuver, something bold to change things, to surge, to turn things around, and to get some headlines and force the media to take notice.